welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live music channel. My name is Chris Au, and I have with me the co-founder of Virtual Concert Halls, Dr. Anna Ouspenskaya.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome everyone to our program. I hope you enjoy.
Yes, and we were your host for today's show. This is part 7 of the documentary of Beethoven's Symphony No. 8, written and narrated by Lawrence Rapchak, who we adore, created by New Media Productions Worldwide and Virtual Concert Halls, as well as produced by the Architects of Music.
And we are very grateful for this wonderful collaboration, which draws its energy and keeps it going thanks to our shared passion to bringing live performances and events from musicians to audiences around the globe.
Now we enter what is clearly a development section, so let's see where all of this goes. You heard in our last excerpt, as it ended, that the development section now begins with the return of the main theme, but it soon veers off in a rather dramatic way into new harmonic regions, and it's that sprightly descending motive that Beethoven now will concentrate on. And now an inversion appears, an ascending version of it. And Beethoven masterfully plays them off of one another, often the ascending version and the descending version at the same time. Very light and playful, but suddenly vigorous and dramatic. And there was that brief moment when all of the voices lined up. Very passionate. Now, Beethoven, with brilliance to spare, increases the tension by extracting just the third and fourth notes of this motive. Just these two notes. And he begins to energize things by repeating this tiny two-note motive, ending up on a big unison of two pitches. Stuck on these two pitches, which happen to be the same two pitches that powered through the finale of the Seventh Symphony. In A major, and here we are grinding away on these same two pitches in the finale of the Eighth, which also will lead us to A major and a joyous return of the main theme. And underneath this joyous outburst, the low strings are pounding away at the E in octaves, which might be related to those crazy octaves in the first movement. You never know. But now, this is echoed by the flute and the strings very lightly, followed by what can only be described as hilarious, musically speaking, as this, on E, the note E, slips up a half step to F, but played by a bassoon and the timpani. And this leads to a full restatement of the opening sonata exposition. All three themes, including our lyrical second theme, now in D-flat major. It all returns exactly as in the exposition. Two things, though. One micro and the other macro. The micro, this timpani thing. Such nonsense was unheard of in 1813. You remember my discussion of the timpani tuning in the scherzo of the Seventh Symphony, how every composer used the two kettle drums to play the tonic note and the dominant note of any given work. Well, Beethoven really challenges himself here. In the Seventh, he used one timpano tuned to F, the tonic note of the scherzo, right? The other drum, you recall, he kept tuned to A, since the music kept modulating into A major. So he was able to add the power of the timpani to both of those keys. But in the finale of the Eighth, Beethoven does the unthinkable. He tunes both drums to the note F, the tonic key, one high, the other low, greatly limiting the number of passages where the timpani would fit into the harmonies of this finale. But hey, he'll live with it, because when that little octave passage on E grabs our attention, coming out of the dramatic, joyous A major, and then those octaves on E, what more striking, bizarre way to get us back into F major than our country bumpkin duo of bassoon and timpani also playing octaves on F? And the man was almost completely deaf and basically cut off from the normal world and headed for a serious emotional depression when he finished this music. But the joy of artistic creation was bubbling over. Now, the macro observation I mentioned, the architecture, the design of this finale, it is very unusual. We had the exposition with its three basic themes, followed by the dramatic development section, which was built on and its inversion, then that goofy timpani bassoon thing that led us back to the full restatement of the opening exposition with all three themes. So this sounds like a standard sonata form: exposition, development, and recapitulation. So a coda to end the symphony should be next. But it doesn't happen, since we are now only at the halfway point of this movement. Beethoven is using a hybrid form for this finale that's a sonata form merged with some sort of rondo, where the main theme, which is our A material, keeps returning. And even though this finale feels like a rondo with the many happy returns of the material in between each of these repeats is not new material, as in the rondo. It's the same material used in fascinating new ways. So it's rondo in construction, but not in its use of the materials. So here's a quick review. A full exposition in the beginning with all three theme groups, followed by that passionate development section based on then the timpani thing, leading us back to the main theme and what seemed like a standard recapitulation. But now, instead of a coda to end it all, we have a second development section coming. And this one is really unusual, and it shows just how advanced Beethoven's thinking had become, even in this supposedly light-hearted work. So here's Beethoven just minding his own business, with this new section starting off just like every other section that we've heard. Even though we're now in the key of B flat, the subdominant key, but never mind that. Instead, listen to what happens with our cheery little rustic motive. Some pretty stern stuff. Then a pause. And now, the most amazing passage of this finale, a stunning example of true symphonic development. In the main theme, there's one melodic figure that I haven't yet mentioned. It is this. And it's part of that sprightly descending motive. Here it is. And you may recall that in the previous development section, this figure was quite forceful. So Beethoven now extracts this figure, and out of the silence that follows the cello and bass, we hear what sounds like a chant, calm and detached. It's a single voice drifting across the soundscape in the second violins. It's echoed by the woodwinds now, but with a new chorale-like bass added to it. And there's a mystical, serene quality to this. And you guessed it, this mystical chant melody is an augmented, a slowed-down version of this from the main theme. But the last three notes are now lowered in this new chant version. It's an amazing transformation, this new mystical chant. But equally remarkable is a tiny flickering sound that you hear above in the first violins and then low in the cello and bass.
Well, now I can't wait to see what else is coming up in this development section.
That's right. There's elements when you just listen to the symphony,
Yeah.
they are striking, no
Yeah.
question about it. But they really come out much more striking when Larry leads you to understanding where they come from. It's like, there's intuitive understanding of what's happening in the world right now. Everyone has some sort of understanding, but of course, if you dive into the history preceding current events, you get much more in-depth picture of basically where those events coming from, and kind of can project where they're likely to lead to. Same with this approach which Larry takes, and it's a fantastic way of rounding the entire understanding of the intention of the symphony, and why, answering all these questions, why is it so engaging. It's looking back at where the current element, current motive is coming from, and what kind of transformation it took that motive, or Beethoven made it to go through, in order to arrive in every segment of the symphony. I find it quite remarkable.
Yeah, and I think that's him revealing Beethoven's genius as part of what is making this series very compelling, because I think a lot of people are familiar with Beethoven and his writings, and musicians even are very familiar with a lot of his music. But it's not until you have someone who explains it in this way that you see it in the bigger picture. I think it takes like a conductor, or I would say a pianist, because we play a lot of these the sonatas, and when we play chamber music, we have the whole score. But still, someone who really is studying the complete score at all times to really kind of comprehend the compositional genius of it, perhaps, and what he adds to all the little pieces he starts off with. So he has this sort of skeleton. He kind of entices you with it, but then everything matters. Every part of it matters. It's almost like I think I mentioned before, when you read a story or read a book and some character that you didn't think was a significant character comes in the middle and is like, is actually
pulls out a
somebody.
gun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's quite significant, or little clues that you're like, oh, what does that mean? What's going on there? And it comes to fruition later on, like it's part of a bigger puzzle. And that's, I think, not only very clever, but I also think that it helps round off structurally this, like the story. You feel like everything has a purpose. Like, I'm telling you this information because later on, if you remember this information, it will come back in the end. Or if you don't remember it, then it will surprise you because it's something that you should have remembered. And I think we talk about, good storytelling, people who can tell really good jokes, people who can really tell good narratives like this, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, it takes someone with a background of a conductor and composer, and that's what Larry is. He's a conductor and a composer and a pianist, and he has enormous baggage of being the pre-concert lecturer for the Chicago Symphony. And I can never forget the fact that for nearly 20 years, only those who happened to live in Chicago were privileged enough to go to the symphony and hear those pre-concert lectures, followed by the phenomenal Chicago Symphony performances of those symphonies. And now with this modern world, we are all part of the same lucky ones.
Yeah.
So we can hear those insights which Larry brings into looking at how composers actually made this music. And the other thing is, sometimes uncovering a mystery of how something has been created by a genius can be a rather disheartening experience, because you find out all the mundane things which went into it, like paper and pencils, and the like. But with Larry's narration of it, I find it ever more fascinating as he goes through uncovering those elements which Beethoven put together in order to create those massive symphonies. The more we get into that, the more I find this intriguing and actually fueling my curiosity to know more.
Absolutely, because I think if you listen to this symphony on its own, you'll find there are some humorous things, and you, as a musician, you might think, "Oh, that's kind of interesting how he does the chant thing. What's going to happen next? I wonder what's going to happen next." And I think this speaks also to this form that Beethoven using, that sort of a rondo sonata form, where it's kind of little sonata forms, but altogether it's a little rondo. And I think it's just genius. I think the rondo form is a genius thing, because the rondo form, you get the audience with this theme and you bring it back a few times, and so they're comfortable with it. Every time it returns, like, oh yeah, that's cool. I know that. Yeah, I know that. Right, but then they're always people. The audience is always wondering, okay, what's next now? What's going to be the little thing before you bring the theme back? And as it's going through this kind of chaos of transformation, the audience is kind of expecting, okay, how are we going to go back home? How are we going to land home? Mm-hmm. And even from something as early as the Opus 13 Pathetic Sonata, the rondo in that, you kind of like, oh, are we home yet? Are we home yet? And then he just kind of slams the door at the end, right? And
that's right. Yeah.
You're always wondering how he's going to end it. And I think Larry opens this up to a further and more extensive understanding of what Beethoven is really doing with these devices, because it's boring to talk about structure. It's boring to talk about sonata form and forms. But what he brings to life is like it's actually part of how you tell a story and how you actually make sense out of this. And I just think it's fantastic. From even the way he calls the the country bumpkin, and using the kettle drum to do it. It's so brilliant. And it just sounds like it kind of sounds stupid in a way, but that's exactly what he wants to elucidate. So it takes you off guard. Everything's like building up, so exciting, it's glorious, it's so serious, and suddenly it's like, nah, it's fine. just yeah.
That's right. And that was the Beethoven's intention. He was quite a fascinating man, I think. Combining all the tragedy and drama and passion and trouble with a very healthy dose of humor.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the same man who was plagued by health problems and mental problems, probably from the loss of many things in his life, many sacrifices he's had to make physically and also otherwise, socially, personally too. And yet this is the kind of music that he writes, and it's very incredible. One of my teachers always told me not to take the lives of composers too seriously. It's important to know it, but not to really pair it up together. Like, oh, he was feeling sad because of this, therefore he wrote this piece of music. It's like, no, it's not always like that. You look at the Hammerklavier Sonata, which is one of these glorious pieces of music, monumental, and yet it was written during one of the most difficult times in his life, and it's not comparable. It's something that's kind of, I find, useful to know if you have the context, but also not representative of what the music is really trying to say. And I think this is a clear exhibition of that, where this finale is just like, okay, I'm going to pull out all the stops. What you thought was like a simple, easy, light symphony is now a piece of genius.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. You're so right. And your teacher was so right. Yeah, of course, the live events influenced the life of of the composer, but it's the professional life, and the composers took their work very professionally, very seriously. It lives in somewhat a parallel, um, just like many other things in life live in parallel. I mean, uh, not necessarily meshing together,
Yeah.
um, and
Like I can imagine
creating
you
cause
having
and
a
effect. Yeah,
like I can imagine you having a not so good day personally, but then teaching and you're like just inspired and you're
yeah,
on
that
fire.
happens.
Yeah, and you the student may wonder where did that come from? And
That's
yeah, I don't
right.
even show it just sort of happens. And I think it's really related in this sort of personal life versus compositional life. And it's also we have to remember that it's written over a span of time. It wasn't
Of
like
course.
and we're not like even if we're going through difficult times, it's not like 100% of the time we're sad or devastated or
Yeah.
upset. It's like there's gradients, and I think that's. Anyways, I think this is what makes Beethoven's music so incredible. That in spite of his life circumstances, which is dire to begin to talk about, he still has this great joy, and it's amazing.
Great energy and a lot of humor.
Yeah, yeah. In his own way, I think Beethoven's humor is more like he kind of pranks you and nudges you and kind of like,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
not the, yeah, like a
Beer
light, it's
mug
not,
smacking kind of humor too.
yeah, like he's not
Very
Santa
rough.
Claus. He's not Santa going ho ho ho. It really is. He's got this like kind of thing. Like he really wants to prank you. Anyways,
Hmm.
this has just been a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear what else is in this finale. I know that there's quite a few more parts left over, and so this finale is definitely a really rich source of inspiration for us and also for Larry. So big thanks to our team and collaborators, new media productions, virtual concert halls, architects of music, and of course Larry Rapchak for making this so accessible and so wonderful. So much fun actually to dive into. I wish I could hear you conduct and talk about this music live.
I hope someday we will. Uh, and Larry is not sitting on his couch doing nothing. He's working, and we're looking very much forward to working on more projects with Larry and presenting them in our
Amazing.
little discussions here. There's more composers coming up and different juxtapositions of composers. There's a lot of interesting material which we will be presenting in the near future. And as always, many thanks to all of our supporters and collaborators from around the entire world. There's so many companies and people who lead them speak different languages, yet share the same passion for sharing the music, for bringing it alive. Both music written long time ago and newly composed music with a production of albums, productions of concerts, musical exchanges, cultural exchanges, orchestra performances. If you're interested in our large and vibrant community, uh, get in touch with us. We're always looking for more people who had more ideas, and we're very, very open to work with anyone and everyone.
Yes, and we also stream on many different platforms with the idea and the mission to try to make this as accessible as possible. That, of course, we have these amazing documentaries prepared and produced, but we want to share them with you. It's a part of what makes the classical music industry continue to thrive and the classical music world and artists. So if you're interested, please get in touch. And of course, we would love to stream your amazing music and music series, musician series. And with that, we have quite a few more parts. This is part 7 of the documentary series on Beethoven 8, the Symphony number 8, and we'll see you next time for part 8 of Beethoven 8. 8 8. See you then.
That's going to be very interesting. See you then. Bye now.